No, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah!
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 103 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best Nicolas Cage Movie. This week, we are celebrating one of the world's most unique actors. Nicolas Cage is like a tornado of intensity and eccentricity wrapped up in one package. From his over-the-top performances to his non-conventional roles, he never fails to entertain. Like, even when his movies are horrible, you still get the consolation prize of Nicolas Cage's over-the-top performances. It's the gift that keeps on giving because he never fails to entertain. It's like he possesses this magnetic pull that draws you in, and you can't help but to be captivated by his wild energy and dominating on-screen presence. Whether he's stealing the Declaration of Independence or having a battle mid-prisoner flight, you know you're in for a wild ride. Nicolas Cage gets a lot of unwarranted flack. You either love him or you hate him, but there's no denying his charisma, because if there's one thing we can all agree on, he knows how to leave an impression. We're also celebrating the 40th anniversary of Nicolas Cage on film. Okay, we're cheating a bit here. He did have a small role in 1982's Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but A, nobody remembers him in that movie. B, that was Nicolas Coppola, not Nicolas Cage. And C, we were all truly locked in after his lead role in 1983's Valley Girl. Whether he's playing a quirky character or diving deep into a dramatic role, we're all here for it. And we're here for the Nicolas Cage Renaissance because somebody this gifted, this explosive, and this unique only comes around once a generation, if we're lucky. This week, Formidable Opponents debates and discusses Best Nicolas Cage Movie. As always, I'm joined by two guys who, even though we had 112 Nicolas Cage movies to choose from, they both just want to talk about 8mm over and over. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
What's up?
Anybody got a light? Anybody got a light?
What's going on, everybody?
So guys, to honor Nicolas Cage, all the dialogue in this podcast will either be whispered or screamed, and everything will be on fire, okay?
That's me, like, on a weekly basis.
Yeah, nothing's going to change. Also, we're going to have a four-way with the Declaration of Independence. So that's for our Patreon.
The Declaration of Independence.
What's up?
By the way, these hair plugs fucking hurt. I don't know how Nicolas Cage does it.
I'm a cat. I'm a sexy cat. We're going to overdose on Nicolas Cage today.
Could eat a peach for hours. God damn it.
Before we get to that, guys, how are y'all doing?
I was doing fantastic until the Texans lost at the last second today, but
That was crazy. That was insane. I
that was
thought
neither
they
here
had
nor
it.
there. Why would they go for the field goal? Why would they go for the field goal? You have CJ Stroud. Just go for it, man. 4th and 12. Fuck it.
Yeah,
It's
that was
a-
interesting though. It was a great kick. It just wasn't enough.
It was just short. Just a
But
little
like
short.
as
8
everybody
millimeter.
that's, if you're hearing this right now, I don't know when you're gonna hear it, but you would have already heard that. Man, there's a lot of fucking bad calls. Anyway,
Hey, speaking of
Go ahead.
bad calls, Joseph, how was that live Texas Longhorn game we just saw this Friday?
horrible.
It was a beautiful experience. It was like going to church, Joseph. That
No,
stadium.
I
is
always
amazing.
love seeing live football, obviously, of course, and it is a nice stadium. I hate the team. I was there to root on the other team, obviously, but just live sports is always fucking amazing. We had great seats,
and great seats,
Uh,
cold beer.
cold beer, go beer,
Cold beer, cold beer.
A lot of fun,
So-
fun.
That was our weekly sports segment. Now
What'd you do, Randy?
Now on to weather with
I
Gilbert.
stayed home and watched Capella.
How was everybody's Thanksgiving is what I want to know.
Work.
Joseph's trying to tell me he only had one plate for Thanksgiving, but
I
who
did
only
only have
eats
one
one
plate,
plate?
dude.
Like a psychopath. How could you only have one plate?
I want to
Because
drop
I didn't want to
something.
eat late at night. We were going to get up early the next day.
My wife has just asked if we could do family photos. I was like, this is the wrong time to ask for family photos.
Can you give me like 3 weeks? Can you give me
I told
my wife said the same thing. Can we do family photos? I was like, next week? You got at least 2.5 weeks of me throwing up, make myself throw up and run mile.
We don't condone that. Anyway, I told my wife, I go, could we do them in the spring? And when I say spring, I mean like the spring solstice, like the late last week of June. You know, I told her I'm not ready for that. I'm afraid that they're gonna mistake me for the cameraman. This can't be your family. You know, I mean?
He was just trying to make the kids smile, folks. He was just trying to make the kids smile. Got caught in the flash.
I told my wife, I go, I need to drop at least 30 pounds. So you need to give me some time. And my son was like, no, Dad, you're okay. You just need to drop about 20. I was like, thanks for the confidence boost. I'm a little worried about those family photos, but it's inspiration.
Everybody stand in front of me and I'm just going to put the hoodie real tight around my face.
I'm going to wear a poncho for those. You can't tell what I look like.
There's a gardener in the back.
But your Thanksgiving was great, right, guys? Enjoyed the food?
Yeah. No, everything was great.
Well, you know, it wasn't really. I had a week off. I got a week off from work, and I'm like excited as hell. I got sick on Monday. Well, I got sick actually Sunday, and then Monday I kind of like, okay, I think I'll be okay, and it just got worse. Got the damn flu. Who gets the flu on the week off from work for Thanksgiving? I got the flu, dude. So I was sick, coughing, sneezing, blowing my nose, feeling body aches, all that shit all week. Thursday, I ate and I was like, you know, I came back and was lying on the couch all day because I just like felt like I couldn't taste, like my taste buds were off. Like the food tasted good, but it didn't taste great. Like I tried to drink a whiskey and it tasted off. Like it was a bad week. Friday was a great day though. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to see the Texas Longhorns football game, and I kind of got up for that, and I've been feeling better since. But yeah, it was kind of a shitty week.
So yeah, I told this dude. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Justin.
No, I was going to say, like, I told this dude, you need to fucking power through this. I need you to go get a B12 shot, do whatever you got to do, take medication, drink fluids, like, do what you have to do because the game is Friday. Yeah, the game is Friday, and there's no way we're not fucking partying.
Just to give everybody a little inside baseball, we were supposed to record last Sunday, but Bob got sick. And, you know, you never want to, you know, mess with anybody's health. Of course, you know, coughing, aches. We want everybody at their best. I was being a little lazy.
We're far from that.
Yes, we're far from that. I was being a little lazy. I didn't do all my notes until the night before. So I was doing all this Nicolas Cage research, and I was up till about 3 a.m. So you know, when Bob said, hey, I can't do it this week, I was like, I don't want to make him feel bad, of course, because I know he's sick. I was like, fuck, I was up till 3 a.m. ready for the show. But, you know,
nerd.
I memorized the Declaration of Independence. So, guys, we're talking Nicolas Cage this week. Now, Joseph, you suggested this topic, and you kind of connected it to the whole Brendan Fraser renaissance, and Nicolas Cage is possibly going to experience a new renaissance with this new movie that he has coming out called, what's it called?
The Whale 2.
The Whale 2.
Dream scenario.
Dream scenario.
Yeah.
That's my dream scenario, seeing a Whale 2 sequel.
So, Joseph, tell us a little bit about this. Why?
Okay, first off, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me just say that, I was, I read this amazing article about this movie that I have not seen. So I cannot like say that like, oh, it's this great fucking movie. Like it's, you know, finally, I don't know yet. I'm just going by what I've read, and everything that I've read has said that this is I believe I read a part that said somebody compared it to, like what Randy said, Brendan Fraser's The Well. But we love Brendan Fraser. We love, and we've always thought he should get his due, and he finally did, and that's great. And I kind of feel that, and we feel that way, and it's like what Randy said in the beginning. You either love Nicolas Cage or you don't. We do, and we feel like he needs to get
guy.
His,
Fuck yeah,
he's our guy. I actually, you know, I was probably going to talk about this.
I wrote to him when I was in college. Is that what you're going to say?
I was going to talk about this a little bit too when we started going, but you know, if you look at Nicolas Cage's nominations and awards that he's won,
yes,
it's not much, and that fucking sucks.
He did win the Oscar.
He did win an Oscar for best actor for Leaving Las Vegas in 1996.
Las Vegas was cool as shit.
95, 96. He was nominated at least for adaptation in 2003, but that's it. You mean you can't seriously, like, you don't think this guy's done something enough to at least be?
Have you heard his accents in movies, Joseph? Let me just throw that out there.
Joseph, let me present this to you. Now we've seen a decrease in quality. Nicolas Cage, maybe
understandably,
2012, 2017.
A lot of straight to the skid.
Yeah.
Well, he's definitely has steered into this, like, okay, this is what you all think of me. Fine, fuck you all. I'm gonna do what I do. I'm gonna make movies. I love making movies. I don't care. I think that's fucking cool. Like, you know what? This is what you all think of me. Fine. But I did read some great stuff on this dream scenario movie. I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping it's all that it's been made out to be, and supposedly it's his Brendan Fraser moment. Like that
Does he have ranch?
he's so good in this that that it's should definitely give him a lot more Oscar buzz and things like that. And of course, just immediately I thought about like all his fucking movies that he's done, all the movies that I liked, all the movies that we've seen, stuff even most recently. He just kind of, you know, poking fun at himself with the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Great movie.
I just thought, you know what? There's so many to choose from, and I know we all have our favorite and all have our opinions. Let's roll with this. So, you know, brought it to you guys, and here we are.
So, guys, let's kick off with the opening questions. What was the first Nicolas Cage movie you remember seeing, and what stood out from that particular performance? I go first.
So for me, Joseph's right. We're having a moment.
We'll cut. Yeah, I was like,
yeah. Joseph was in mid burp and he was on mute, and Bob was pointing at him, and we all had the.
I was like, no.
The gun fingers pointing. But I'll go first. Valley Girl, 1983.
Valley Girl.
Valley Girl.
You're from the RGV, sir. It's Valley Girls with a B.
That's the first movie you remember seeing. Okay.
I loved Nicolas Cage in that movie. It was a great soundtrack, by the way. But his chemistry with Deborah Foreman was palpable. It was fire. Nicolas Cage had a real life crush on his co-star. Yes, it was. His co-star Deborah Foreman. He later admitted in an interview, "I just adored Deborah." So there was very little acting on my part. Cage would write poetry to her on the set. One poem was titled "American Girl," which she still has. Nicolas Cage lived in his car during the shoot, so to make his character seem as authentic as possible. This will be the first of many strange things we'll read about Nicolas Cage's method acting and what we're going to talk about. But that movie cemented a very big, and we're talking 80s. I don't want to jump ahead, but we're talking 80s. We're talking about 80s hits next episode. I'll Stop the World and Melt With You. It's synonymous with that movie. And this was the first in a series of female co-stars, and we'll get into it later, guys. Nicolas Cage had unbelievable chemistry with, and we'll talk about his female co-stars, but let's answer the question, guys. First Nicolas Cage performance you remember watching?
Well, for me, it was Face Off. Okay, I might be, dating myself. When this
you're dating yourself. That's really progressive of you, Joseph.
What was this? 97, right? I know he had a good amount of stuff already, to his name before this movie, but I had to have been like, 97. I was, either 7th or 6th grade. So,
it was 97.
I wasn't too familiar with his work at the time. I just remember seeing this, hearing about this movie, this cool concept that, I'm sure we'll talk about later, so I don't want to go too into it. But I knew who Travolta was, so I was like, okay, cool. Let's check this out. This seems interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I was blown away by both performances. This whole take the what the movie's about. It stood out to me. I thought that was so fucking cool. I was like, all right, cool, that's interesting. How are they gonna do this? We'll get into that later. But that's what I remember, and I thought it was cool. And of course, it made me want to see other performances by him and kind of look to what else he was doing.
The first one I really, really remember, old enough to watch movies and really sit and pay attention and get it was The Rock. Man, that movie, not the actor, not Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Sean Connery, Ed Harris, Nick Cage. That movie, Trapped in Alcatraz, that fucking movie blew me away with the actors and the acting and the cool concept. And it's an action movie, and it was one of my favorites as a kid, quote unquote, as a kid, growing up. I was like, holy shit, this is really, so my first intense action movie with a decent storyline, stuff like that. I really liked out of Nick Cage. And there's another one. Maybe you'll know it. I know a big fan of ours, Danny. He's been on our show before. Daniel, our buddy, Trapped in Paradise. I think me and Danny may have seen this movie probably 100 times growing up. John Lovitz, Dana Carvey.
Yes.
Oh my God, fucking! If you've never seen Trapped in Paradise, it's just such the funny, stupid. I mean, the concept. It's a great movie, dude. It's a great movie. When Nick Cage has to play the serious actor, opposed to Dana Carvey and John Lovitz. I mean, it's great. But those are the two movies that really stuck out to me. The first ones that I was introduced to.
I'm glad you brought that movie up, Bob, because it doesn't get talked enough about. So the way that movie came about is that Nicolas Cage was a host for SNL, and he really blended in well with the cast. And so Dana Carvey and John Lovitz made this movie with him. In that SNL episode, there was a great skit, and if you guys want to YouTube it, Nicolas Cage plays an expectant father, and they're trying to name their son. And so him and his wife are naming their son. Well, let's name him Art. No, we can't call him Art because they're going to call him Art Fart. Well, let's call him Eddie. No, we can't name him Eddie because they're going to make fun of him and call him Eddie Spaghetti. So a FedEx guy knocks on the door, and Nicolas Cage opens the door, and they say, I got a package here for Asswipe Johnson. And he says, it's pronounced Asweepe.
Holy shit, I know that skit. I haven't heard that skit in a long time. That's hilarious.
Asweepe. So, guys, Nicolas Cage, there's one thing that's undeniable. Nicolas Cage has such great chemistry with his female co-stars. Let me run off a list here. Holly Hunter in Raising Arizona. Sarah Jessica Parker in Honeymoon in Vegas.
It's pronounced Serica.
Cher in Moonstruck. Kathleen Turner in Peggy Sue Got Married. Laura Dern in Wild at Heart. Great movie. Elizabeth Shue in Leaving Las Vegas. Meg Ryan in City of Angels. What is it about Nicolas Cage that makes him just blend in with his female co-star so well?
He's got that. I mean, he's kind of like the cool guy. He plays the guitar too. At a certain point, he seems like kind of the rock star type of
every guy, right?
Yeah, every guy too. You know, he doesn't have a full head of hair, but he has just enough to make him look cool. He's got the crazy eyes. He can be crazy. He can be smooth and suave and relaxed. Like he's got a little bit of everything, and he's a really cool method. I think that's what blends him. I mean, why his co-stars, female co-stars, love him so much. 'Cause I think he's kind of a little bit of everything that they want. You know, he's a little crazy, but he's also a little laid back. He's a little rough around the edges, but you know, he's cool. I think that he's a really cool dude. He fit that time period, the early 90s, like perfectly.
Yeah, he's a little bit country, he's a little bit rock and roll.
Have you heard his accents? He's a little bit of everything.
Love me some Elizabeth Shue, by the way.
Oh yeah, she looks incredible in that movie. Oh my god,
it just looks incredible today. It just
yes.
But I think it's his commitment to the performance. I mean, and he seems
so well.
Although it might look like he doesn't take it seriously, or he, you know, even if it's like one of the wackiest characters, and yes, he's made movies where he plays some, you know, out there characters, but he's committed to it. And I think you know, if you take this shit seriously, and if you're working with people just as talented, they're going to appreciate that. He's worked with some incredibly talented women, and I'm sure they appreciated his seriousness to the role, his professionalism. I mean, I know there's been a few movies that he's done where he's had to do, you know, some type of romantic scene, but I mean, nothing too serious, but I'm sure he approached that with grace and humility, and so it just works out, you know, for every one of them. He works every co-star, to be honest with you.
I think he's one of the most believable actors who portrays falling in love. I don't know if it's those doe eyes or whatever, but when Nicolas Cage is in love, he does that so well. And I think that's what helps portray him as such a romantic character. And of course, he's an every guy, not like extremely, extremely handsome, but also a good looking guy as well. So, I mean, I don't know. He's just so believable.
Yeah, man, there's a chance for me.
With Nicolas Cage, probably, Joseph. He hangs out with Vince Neil all the time. Fuck, there's a chance for all of us.
City of Angels, too. All right. So what Nicolas Cage movie do you feel doesn't get talked enough? What was his most underrated performance? Is there a performance out there that doesn't get talked about enough?
I really like Lord of War.
Good movie.
Talk about this movie nonstop. I don't think it's gotten the credit that it deserves. I think he's so fucking awesome in that movie. He's speaking of committing to the role. He's in the movie. He's playing. He's not playing two characters, but he's living a double life, so to speak. This family life and this life as an arms dealer, arms supplier to, you know, war countries and whatnot, all kind of while hiding this from his wife. And he does such a great job in this movie. I think he worked well. Jared Leto's in this movie. He worked well with him. It's just a really great performance to me and a really great story. It's based on a true story. It's based on an actual terrible person, to be honest with you. It doesn't get enough attention to me. When I ask people if they've seen it, a lot of people say, no, I didn't see that one. And I tried to, man, you really should check that movie out. Thank you if you've seen it, you guys. Randy has, so apparently maybe he knows what I'm talking about.
Great movie. What about you, Bob? Performance that sticks out, doesn't get talked about enough?
I was going to say National Treasure, but I'm just kidding.
Good movies, by the way.
Again, I think I'm going to stick with, you know, I did see Lord of War. I liked Lord of War. The Weatherman was also a really good one. Joseph, did you ever see that one?
Yeah, I remember the trailer to that when they kept throwing shit at him. Hey,
Yeah,
weatherman.
yeah, I thought that was a really, really, really underrated movie because I mean he plays one of his serious roles. I think it's really he has a lot of underrated performances. The Trapped in Paradise one I know already mentioned. I think I'm going to stick with that one. That's one that really sticks out to me as like a comedy again. He's like the love interest, but he's also like trying to keep his brothers out of trouble, and it's a good man. It's either Trapped in Paradise or The Weatherman. The Weatherman is one I really, really loved.
I think for me, Matchstick Men. I got season tickets for Sam Rockwell.
That was
after,
another one too, man.
Yeah,
I forgot. He was pretty good in that one.
After Sam Rockwell did like Confessions of a Dangerous Minds, he was also in The Green Mile. I was like, I got to watch every movie this guy does.
I love The Dangerous Mind. Michelle Pfeiffer, bro. God.
And
I'm just kidding.
So go ahead, Joseph.
No, I was just gonna say like it's a great movie. Sam Rockwell for me is like up and down. It's just my opinion. Because you mentioned him and I was like, really? I was like, I mean, I know he's done movies that I've seen that he was really good, but then sometimes I see him do movies and I was like, this guy's just playing the same fucking character every movie. Him and Jason Schwartzman, I can't stand him. I mean, I know they've done some good movies, but like even now, Jason Schwartzman is just the same character in every movie.
I also have Bringing Out the Dead, where he plays a paramedic. Martin Scorsese directed movie. Got a lot of hype, didn't do very well, but great soundtrack, great Nicolas Cage over-the-top performance because he's staying up all night, picking up bodies. He's incredible in that movie. Have you guys watched Bringing Out the Dead?
No, but I was going to mention, speaking of Bringing Out the Dead, did anybody watch Renfield? I really liked Renfield.
I liked it.
I haven't got a chance yet, but I will.
He played He played an amazing Dracula, dude. He plays an amazing Dracula.
I do want to see it.
Steals the show.
Renfield was good. I did like it. Yeah. You have the fun question. You have the opportunity to recast Nicolas Cage in any movie. What movie and what role would you cast him in?
Oh shit. Okay. Go ahead, Joseph. Go ahead.
Well, okay. I don't know what role I would cast him in. I would love to have seen him in Constantine with Keanu Reeves. I love that movie. I like everybody's performances. I guess if I was going to put him as anybody in Constantine, I wouldn't. And he did pretty good too. Gavin Rossdale played a demon called Balthazar. I think he did good for a person who's a musician who's taken on some acting roles, but I think it's not a massive role. It's an important role, but it's not a lot of screen time. And I think having Cage play Balthazar, that would have been interesting. Possibly, as much as I love Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Yeah,
it might have been interesting.
Yeah,
it might have changed the dynamic of the movie a little bit too. Maybe it wouldn't have been
that's a good
cartoony. Even though I love the movie, love Tommy Lee Jones, it just would have brought a different dynamic to it, I think.
I'd wish Tarantino had brought him in and had him in one of his movies, man. Talk about like what he did for Travolta. I mean, if you throw Nick Cage in like a Pulp Fiction type of movie, even like a Get Shorty type of movie, or I mean, not necessarily Kill Bill, but I think he could have done just wonders if Tarantino had thrown him in a good major role, like somebody slipped him into some kind of major role in one of his movies. I think that he would do an amazing job, especially with his character. Like he's a method actor, and I think that he would have fit like a glove, man. Tragedy, we haven't seen that yet, but I think, and I'm not going to give a specific movie, but I think him in a Tarantino movie would blow my mind.
Yes, Nicolas Cage doing Tarantino dialogue, I co-sign. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah. I think he would have made a good John McClane. Now, I would never replace Bruce Willis, but Nicolas Cage just looks like a guy who talks to himself all the time. So having him talk to himself the way John McClane did, I think it would have been interesting. You know, trivia here, he was almost the lead in The Wrestler before he dropped out and Mickey Rourke took it. So I would have liked to have seen Nicolas Cage's portrayal of Randy the Ram Robinson.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that would have been cool, man.
That's because I think, what's his name?
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke was fantastic in that movie. That's a great movie. It's a terribly sad movie, but it's a great movie.
Sad movie. I would have loved to have seen Nicolas Cage as the lead in Titanic. Because could you imagine him begging to get on that door? Come on, there's room on there.
Screw you, Billy Zane.
So, guys, before we get to honorable mentions, I got a few facts about Nicolas Cage, and if you want to chime in, please feel free to do so. So, Nicolas Cage started acting because he wanted to be James Dean. He said, I saw Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden. Nothing affected me. No rock song, no classic musical. The way Dean affected me in these movies. It blew my mind. I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. And when you see Nicolas Cage, you kind of see the James Dean sort of vibe, the way he's cool but intense at the same time. So interesting fact there. And Nicolas Cage was asked, if only 3 of your films could be preserved for posterity, what 3 films would you choose? He chose Bringing Out the Dead, which was a trippy movie, but he loved doing it. He worked for Scorsese. Have you all seen Pig, where he plays a chef whose pig gets kidnapped? His hunting pig gets kidnapped, and yeah, I've not seen that movie either.
Betamax, straight to Betamax.
Pig, and then he said Leaving Las Vegas, which he won an Academy Award for. Has an out-of-work screenwriter who goes to Las Vegas to drink himself to death, just like we all do, right?
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke said, his co-star in Lord of War, said that Nicolas Cage is the first actor since Marlon Brando to do something new with the art of act. Let me ask you, his method of acting, a little over the top. What do you guys think about it? I love it. I think Nicolas Cage is awesome. I like seeing him unhinged.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's over the top. He's eccentric. He's hilarious, man. He's funny as hell. I love that he like goes over the top. He over embellishes. He gets really excited on certain scenes, certain dialogue. I love that. It's what you expect out of him as an actor. That's why I think he do so well in so many different styles of movies. And he's he's a unique individual, man. I'm all about it, man.
He ate a real life cockroach in Vampire's Kiss. That's how much of a method actor he is. I think what Nicolas Cage did seriously is what Jim Carrey did as a joke. So it's really mind blowing. I think Nicolas Cage is one of those guys, and God forbid, but we want him around a long time. If he were to pass away, he'd be one of those guys where we'd have a story, we'd have an Instagram post. I mean, like for us, you know how sometimes when kind of a celebrity, like if like the one-armed drummer from Def Leppard or the guy who did the voice of Elmo in Sesame Street, or like somebody who won Survivor, we put like an Instagram story, like rest in peace. For Nicolas Cage, he's like that John Madden level where we're going to put a story, we're going to put a post, we're going to honor him. So, I mean, to me, he's one of the A+ celebrities I think that we've had in our lifetime. I don't know why I said all that, but okay.
You got into it there. You got into it.
See? Aren't you glad I brought this to the table?
I do. Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat right now. Okay.
That's what she said.
Honorable mentions, guys. What are your favorite Nick Cage performances in a movie?
I got Face Off. I got 8mm. I thought he was amazing in that movie. It's as crazy as it is. He was good. Matchstick Men was also. I like that you mentioned that one earlier. Great movie. Interesting story. I thought he was good in The Wicker Man. I do like that movie. And of course, The National Treasures, Willy's Wonderland. I thought, I know it's a little bit out there too. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
Yes.
It's I thought he was good. I mean, he was fun. There's a lot of movies that he's been in where he wasn't necessarily the star, but I thought he had a good role and he did good. And I would have put those on this list too. There's a lot of minor performances that he did in movies where he actually wasn't necessarily the main star of the movie. So a lot of those would probably be outed, but that's my list. Bob, what you got?
I got a few. I have The Rock, Renfield, National Treasure, The Weatherman, Trapped in Paradise, Con Air. I also have The Wicker Man is a cool movie. I think I saw that movie with you, Joseph.
Probably.
Yeah, this is yeah. It's good. It's a trippy fucking movie, man. I'm not gonna lie.
It's interesting.
The Vegas movie, Lost in Vegas. It's one of those movies I saw when I was younger. Then I saw again when I was like in college or something like that. Man, he was. I mean, he fucking was a great actor in that movie, man. He really sells that crazy, the drunk, love-struck, heartbroken, depressed dude. Like he plays that role extremely, extremely well. Very underrated actor, man. Very underrated actor. What do you got, Ren?
I have both of your selections as my honorable mention, and I know we're going to get to them shortly. I had Valley Girl. Like I said, it still holds up. It's a great romance comedy. It's a great rom-com. I would encourage anybody, and it holds up. It's very 80s and the zeitgeist of it all, and the punk rock and the Valley Girl speak, but it holds up. It's a Romeo and Juliet movie essentially, so it holds up. I had Wild at Heart, which was a David Lynch film. I want that snakeskin jacket that he wore. Also in that movie, it brought Chris Isaak's Wicked Game into heavy rotation. So we have Wild at Heart to thank for that great song. It features a great speed metal concert scene, Joseph, so you got to check it out. Great performance by Willem Dafoe as well. And Bob, where are you in the Laura Dern attractiveness scale? Do we underrate her because we mainly know her through Jurassic Park being chased by dinosaurs? What do you think? I'm curious, Bob. What do you think about Laura Dern?
Laura Dern does. What's there to think about? She's amazing. She's hot.
Love Laura Dern.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Did I mention I have it typed out. I don't know. Did I say World Trade Center? Even though that's not like
You didn't. You did not. You did.
it's
You
a
didn't say
horrible movie.
Moonstruck either. God, it was Cher's turning over in her sleeping in
Cher's
her
not a good
Dracula
actress.
kiss.
Cher did great in The Mask and Moonstruck, but that's another podcast. That's episode 235.
Let's not go there.
That's another one of his performance. Obviously, an incredibly sad movie. But
Joseph.
The World Trade Center, and also I saw The Family Man once. I remember I saw it on TV. They were fucking randomly showing it, and it was good. I thought it was
a good movie.
It's obviously a heartwarming family story, I guess. And that was another good one too. I didn't mention that one. My bad.
So you believe in life after love, Joseph? That's what we really want to know.
By the way,
I'm gonna send you something. We'll talk about it later. I found this dude on Instagram. He did an 80s synth cover of that song. He made it sound like fucking Duran, like a dark Duran Duran. It was crazy. I'll send it to you.
By the way, we had two 77-year-olds who had performances this past weekend. Dolly Parton and Cher. They both look fabulous.
Holy shit!
When did Cher perform? Where did you watch?
She
Cher?
did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh,
yeah.
There was like Dolly Parton. Go Dolly Parton. She is plastic. She's like 95%. Yeah,
she was lip syncing. She was holding on to the.
Well, her mouth only opened
like,
so much, Joseph. Of course,
why are y'all making? I mean, I know she wants to be active and move around and present herself as this like, hey, I'm having fun, but. Maybe it was the outfit. She was clearly like holding on to something to walk.
The best meme I saw was like
stand there and sing.
This is the best meme I saw of that was like this is the last cheerleader from the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl.
The last I was going to mention that. Yeah. They look incredible for that age. Plastic or whatever.
I saw a funny video on Instagram.
I'm never going to finish these honorable mentions. Go ahead, Joseph. You saw a funny video.
It was a funny video. It was like somebody was filming like their grandfather, like, you know, about the same age, watching the performance, and he looked like he was like very excited. He was like
that was just Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones put her in the Ring of Honor after that. She's like, fuck Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, let's okay.
Finisher.
All right. I want to leave this podcast. Leaving Las Vegas. I had as an honorable mention, of course, the wonderful Elizabeth Shue. Moonstruck with Cher. And I had The Rock, Bringing Out the Dead, adaptation, Lord of War. And he's done 112 movies in 40 years. So we could go on and on, but those are my honorable mentions. So
he was just a producer, remember?
No, he acted in 112. Okay. Yeah.
So did Ron Jeremy. Settle down, sir.
All right, guys. So we're going to go on to our selections. Please don't Google that name, by the way, audience members. Okay, so my selection is Raising Arizona. I think that is the best Nicolas Cage movie, the best Nicolas Cage performance. And I'm going to tell you why. Raising Arizona is a 1987 crime comedy by the Coen brothers. For those who haven't seen it, it's an overarching plot, but it's simple. The movie in itself is just a crazy action-packed cavalcade of cartoon characters. So if you like crazy characters, if you like comedy and your heist movies and your robbery movies, you got to watch this movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. In this movie, Nicolas Cage plays a convenience store robber named Hi McDonough, who falls in love with a police officer, Edwina, played by Holly Hunter. Great performer. Holly Hunter is up there as well. Their dream is to start a family, but Edwina can't have babies, and they cannot adopt due to Hi's criminal record. So local celebrity Nathan Arizona, who's a furniture store owner, is shown on the news because he and his wife had quintuplets. So Hi and Edwina concoct a crazy scheme to kidnap one so they could have a child of their own, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Great cast in this one. Nicolas Cage is just coming into his own in this movie. Holly Hunter is already showing why she's one of the best actors of the last 5 decades. Sam McMurray as Glenn is hilarious. Frances McDormand as Dot, Glenn's wife, hilarious. John Goodman and William Forsythe as Gail and Yvelle Snoots, I think I'm saying that right, who tried to kidnap the baby from their former associate Hi. They're just great in this movie. And Randall Tex Cobb as Smalls, the bounty hunter. Epic theme music, loved him in this
Looks movie. Like my dad.
He does. He was very he was very difficult to work with in this movie, according to the directors. The relationship between actor Nicolas Cage and the Coens was respectful but turbulent because when he arrived on set, Nicolas Cage, and we talked about it, guys, he likes to, method act. He likes to bring his own dialogue into the movies. And Joel and Ethan Coen were like, we're not having any of that. Stick to the script. And of course, there was some contention there. This was the Coen's second major film. This was Nicolas Cage still climbing that ladder. He was just fresh off of Peggy Sue Got Married. So a lot of type A personalities jockeying for position in this one. So I think that made the film, yes, contentious, but I think the energy made it even better. Sam McMurray, who played Glenn, had this crazy story. He said he and Nicolas Cage were out to dinner during the shoot, and some crazed fan ran up to Nicolas Cage and asked him for an autograph. And on the cocktail napkin, Nicolas Cage wrote, "Tomorrow you will die," and he gave it to her.
That's awesome.
Kevin Costner auditioned for this role 3 times. Thank God he didn't get it because it would be a completely different movie. I don't see Kevin Costner in this movie. Matthew McConaughey has mentioned that this is one of his all-time favorite movies. It's hilarious. It's sweet. It's dark. It's silly and impeccably performed all around. I love this film so much. It's one of my top 20 favorite movies of all time. And most importantly, it made Nicolas Cage the star he is today. The Coen brothers gave him the stage, that cartoon platform that Nicolas Cage continued to excel in. They let him cook in this film, and Nicolas Cage graduated from moody teen characters to leading man, insane characters, which emboldened him to shine and excel. I have to give a shout out to the fight scene. I know we did best fight scene a couple of episodes, one of our first episodes, I should say. I don't think this fight scene was mentioned, but my favorite moment in a fight scene is when Randall Tex Cobb just punches the shit out of Nicolas Cage, and you think he's going to punch him back, but he just spits a tooth at him.
What can you do? Tex guy, he's huge, man.
You got to watch this fight scene because when Randall Tex Cobb is approaching him, like Nicolas Cage is dry heaving. He's like, he's about to fight this guy. I mean, it's just great. He's getting slapped around. He takes the grenade pin out. It was a brilliant scene. Everything about Nicolas Cage in this movie was brilliant. It's just a fun cartoon of a movie, and Nicolas Cage gives it that home base, and that no matter how ridiculous the characters are, he controls how good the movie should be, and it was fantastic. I'll be taking these Huggies and whatever cash you got, guys. What do you think about this movie?
This is the movie. It definitely was Nicolas Cage's coming out party, man. This is a huge movie for them, and being across from Holly Hunter, and playing alongside John Goodman looks so young in this movie. He looks great in this movie. Even Francis McDormand comes out in this movie. Randall Craig Cobb, dude. He looks like my dad did back in the 80s. It's so fucking weird to see. It's so fucking funny. This is a really, really funny, and you can't call it underrated because this was like a cult classic movie that came out when it came out in, Randy, it was like 87?
Yeah.
87 around there. Man, Holly Hunter, amazing, beautiful. Being a part of I didn't pick this movie. It's not one of my favorites. It's a really great movie, just not one I saw a lot because it came out so long ago. Yeah. I was only 2 when the movie came out.
You're one of the babies in the movie.
I was one of the babies in the movie. I was a white one getting stolen. Yeah. But I thought like it was one of his better performances, one of his best performances up to that date. Like it really kicked him off, showed his range. It's extremely fucking funny. It is a funny fucking movie. He can get overshadowed a little bit because of such a great cast that it has. I mean, like, it has an amazing fucking cast for a movie that, not everybody talks about being this great movie. It was a really great movie in the late 80s, Jesus Christ, with a cast like that, of course. And then the Coen brothers, like you said, you mentioned, wrote the damn thing. So I think this is a great pick, Rand. What a lot of people think of Nick Cage. Yes, he's done over how many movies?
112.
112 movies. One of the first one that comes to mind, if you're, a teenager or old enough in the 80s to remember, it's Raising Arizona, man. And it's a classic movie. It's hilarious. And I think it's a really good pick.
I'll be honest, never seen this movie. I watched enough clips on YouTube and read about the the cast and the story of what it's about and everything like that. And yes, look, just because I can't give a true I don't know, I don't want to call it an opinion or synopsis and we generally not necessarily ever really arguing our picks arguing against each other unless there's something outrageous like I will always love you, but that
episode is building an audience that's getting a lot of downloads,
which really was that best cover song.
Best cover song. Yeah, it's been going like crazy recently. But go ahead, Joseph.
The first thing I watched was the original trailer, which Jesus, that's something in itself. Watching the original,
it's fucking hilarious
trailer. Yeah, and who knew at the time? Like when I saw, I was like, oh, it's Coen Brothers. I was like, the Coen Brothers. Like I don't think anybody knew. Like
second movie.
Yeah, what was to come from these guys. So that's pretty cool. In the clips I saw, and yes, Bob mentioned the cast, I was surprised. I was like, wow, there is a lot of people in this fucking movie. Everything I saw from this was very ensemble comedy cast, I know that Cage and Holly Hunter are the main characters, but rubbing my hands. I'm sure Randy was ready to say something. They were funny clips, but it just seemed like everybody was. It's so like
kung fu fighting.
Yeah, like good example. Everybody's going back and forth at each other, and I'm sure I would enjoy this as a funny movie just in general. But calling it, but it's weird that you select it. Is it because? Do you feel more because it's his coming out party that you're like, this is probably why?
A little bit, yeah. But I think it's his absolute best performance.
Because he's funny. He's funny in the movie. Yeah. In all the clips that I saw about 15 different clips, 15 different scenes. And some of them ended up being, this one was right after this one. So I was like, oh, okay. It reminded me of, this could be a Christmas movie. Like it could be
He gets a kid at the end. Merry Christmas.
It could be like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, except with a whole different concept. Like if you throw the Christmas thing into it, it's a heartfelt story. You know, it's a slapstick comedy Christmas. Like you can throw that in there. So I mean, I like that whole concept. But
that's what she said.
Like I said, it's interesting that you select this one when you mentioned some great, honorable mentions. We had the same ones and a lot of great performances. I mean, yeah, it's his first movie, so he wasn't. Maybe he didn't have the confidence. Maybe he wasn't, or I'm sure he had the confidence. And he was Nicolas Cage, but maybe he just didn't know what was to come as far as his career and his character and how far he would actually like realize his talent.
Let me ask you this, Joseph: did the previews in those clips, did it make you want to watch the movie?
Yeah, it did.
Okay,
it did, and I intend to try and watch it now. It just seems really funny. One of our friends. I don't want to mention his name, but I'm pretty sure.
Mention it.
Harper said it was one of the funniest movies he's ever seen. I think he said it's the funniest movie he ever saw in theater. I was like, wow, okay. I mean, that's cool. So it sounds very like everybody. It's like Bob mentioned or both of you mentioned, cult classic. It's a cult classic because of its ensemble cast, and it's a great cast, and it just seems like so much fun, and this over the top story. I don't know. I'm gonna check it out.
Let's go on to the next selection. Bob, what do you got for us?
I think what Raising Arizona lacked in Nicolas Cage is his facial expressions, his change in craziness and wackiness,
dead face.
Yeah, out there. That is the exact opposite is Face Off. I went with Face Off. This is my pick. I think it is one of the best movies of what year, Joseph? 1997.
Came out in 97 according to the
one of the best movies in 1997. And then not only do you have Nick Cage, but you pair him up with John Travolta, and then you pair him up with the legendary John Woo to create this crazy action-packed, like, fuck John Wick. This is John Wick before John Wick. You want to see action and pigeons and boats flipping and explosions and fucked up shit and helicopters and planes. It's Face Off, man. It's just action like a motherfucker, man. So and Cage, he plays the perfect character, dude. He's a psycho, Castor Troy. He's crazy. He's a murderer. He has no feelings, everything like that. And then, halfway through, as the movie says, they take his face off. John Travolta and him switch faces. A stupid and crazy concept, but they switch faces. So Nick Cage actually has to change his entire approach and entire character. Now he's playing like the soft-spoken, loving dad, John Travolta's character in the movie. So I think that's 1 second. So I think that's crazy, and I think that's why it's his best movie, because he not only has to play the crazy, conniving, evil, Castor Troy, his normal character, but once he gets his face taken off, he has to play this like genuinely nice.
Choo choo choo.
Sorry, dude. I have. It's cold. We made chili. Fucking have acid reflux like crazy now.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsid.
By Pepsid. Evolution. So anyway, like I said, movie has a lot of everything. What's really cool, and I'll attest this to, this is John Travolta at his best. Not only do you see Nicolas Cage playing a crazy person, not only do you see Nicolas Cage playing that loving dad, but you get the treat of seeing John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage playing a crazy person. That's 1 in a million, folks. You can't get that anywhere. John Travolta plays the exact same. It's like he saw what Nick Cage was doing for the first few scenes. He was like, I can do that shit. And he does that exact same, delivers the exact same line. Ooh, you're good looking. All that shit. It's amazing. This movie really does have a lot, that crazy storyline, the crazy action, that amazing director, crazy good acting, and over the top acting, and explosions and killings and shootings. And I think it's his most memorable performance, man. I think he does fantastic. He's a little bit of everything. He gives you a little bit of everything in this movie, besides the shitty accents like he tries to use in the other movies. What do y'all think about it?
This is one of my favorite Nicolas Cage movies, most definitely. I'm gonna maybe help you, and also kind of like when I thought about
Pepsi.
Don't switch faces.
When I thought about it, I was like, well, I might like kind of hurt myself with this. But look, if you hadn't selected this one, I probably would have, because I just think it's fucking awesome. Yes, I think John Woo's a legendary director at this point. For a budget of $80 million in '97, that was probably unheard of. Movies today get made for that much money, and they're hoping that they can.
When you have to blow up a lot of shit, Joseph.
I'm just saying, like,
speedboats are cheap, bro.
97, 80 million was probably like what today we would. Oh, that movie was made for over 100 and some million. And if they didn't get its money back, then that's a problem. This is the first movie I was introduced to. I saw other movies, obviously. I'm going to get to mine later, but this is the first movie that I was introduced to, and like I said, it was the plot was interesting to me. This concept of a character having his face removed to be somebody else for the benefit of the story, or for the plot, what the plot is. And like I said, I knew who John Travolta was. It's an interesting thing that you mentioned, like him having to play John Travolta, or John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage. I started to ask myself a little bit too, like, who's who? Like,
pay attention to the movie, Joseph.
No, it seems so natural. And this is because I love this movie. It seems so natural for John Travolta to be the Castor Troy character, because he's when I like how Bob mentioned, he's like with that really good looking. Yeah, he's throwing a little bit of his what's his Zuko character. He's like, dude, it just seemed natural for him to be that guy. So
Sandy,
some of that
fuck. Shit. Here we go.
All right, go. He's going. Sorry, I regret it.
So as big as Travolta is in this film, playing the character of Castor Troy, it's mainly Nicolas Cage playing Sean Archer, which I love.
The nice guy.
And I think what helps you with this, Bob, even though I said like it's kind of like the dynamic of that kind of like can fuck with your mind, or at least if you're me, it fucks with your mind. Cage as performance as this, it's his movie, because the story revolves around him, him trying to get the information that he's needed, survive being in prison, the whole fucking, the whole 9 yards, saving his family from, as the Castor Troy character coming back to life. But I just think that makes it a better movie, though, even though cause it just kind of fucks you as far as it fucked with me as far as their performances, because sometimes I think that's just like I wouldn't see Nicolas Cage acting the way that John Travolta portrayed him as. You only see a little bit of it. You only see a little bit of Nicolas Cage as the Castor Troy character, and it's funny. It's great. He's awesome at it. But I think John Travolta as the Castor Troy character is a lot cooler.
John Travolta was playing Nicolas Cage. He wasn't playing Castor Troy.
Okay. So
he's like, you ever seen Leaving Las Vegas?
You can argue that. You can argue that. I just, like I said, I wonder where Travolta got this, like, I'm going to be you being this character. Is that what he did? So it's a great movie. It's a great selection. Yeah. And like I said, I probably would have picked it if you had it, because it's and me saying all these things only adds to it. I think that dynamic, this whole conversation of the characters and them playing each other, but not playing each other, playing that character as somebody. It's just back and forth. Crazy. Great selection though, Bob. Great selection.
Bob, I immediately
that went longer than I thought. I'm sorry.
Yes, that was a whole twist ending. Oh my god. Okay, so anyway, Bob, I thought you were gonna pick 8mm, Bob, because wasn't your AOL screen name Dino Velvet? No,
shit.
The machine. It was the machine.
It was just the machine.
So you couldn't have picked two better actors at this time. Nicolas Cage was coming off Con Air, The Rock, Leaving Las Vegas, Kiss of Death. John Travolta was coming off Phenomenon, Michael, Broken Arrow, Get Shorty, Pulp Fiction. So at the time, they were both tremendously hot actors. I mean, they were the
damn
A-list.
Hansel.
Yes. So when Face Off was first being put together, two actors often affiliated with each other were the choices to play Sean Archer and Castor Troy. That would be Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. They originally had these. Could you imagine?
Never would have worked.
How would they? Oh, I want his face. I want his face.
Don't give me that face, Gully man.
Oh, good looking.
Oh, yeah, I like the way it's going.
It worked for Tango and Cash. It worked in Tango and Cash, but that was Kurt Russell.
Could you imagine these two?
It would have been so horrible. As funny as we make it out to be, it would
They
have
wouldn't just
so
change faces.
horrible.
They would cut off vocal cords so they couldn't talk.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine like scenes where Sylvester Stallone is like talking with vocal cords of Arnold. Like, you know that scene where he wakes up and he's like freaked out because he sees Castor Troy's face and he's like, "Fuck you, fuck you." You're Sean Archer. You're Sean Archer. Fuck you.
Can you imagine? I mean, I can't imagine these two knuckleheads trying to mimic each other. Thank God they weren't to like. And then
Cooler heads prevailed. I'm glad.
Then there was a rumor that it would be Harrison Ford and Michael Douglas. All right, Michael.
They'd be fighting over applesauce and shit like that.
Michael Douglas executive produced the movie. I think he passed because John Woo refused to do a dramatic montage of his ball swinging back and forth as he walks away from the camera like all his other 90s movies.
What was the one where he was cheating, having the affair? What was it called?
Was it Basic Instinct or
Basic Instinct? Was it? No, Basic Instinct.
It was
That's you're gonna arrest me for smoking a cigarette? Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah. So
Anyways, let's move on.
Michael Douglas in the '90s, master of pay no attention to my bare ass and simply marvel that you get to see my ball swing back and forth like a grandfather clock between my legs. Anyway,
the Jewel of the Nile.
When he was offered his part in Face Off, Nicolas Cage turned it down because he did not want to play the villain. Then it was explained that for most of the film, Cage would be playing Sean with Castor's face, and he would be playing the hero. So this intrigued Nicolas Cage enough to get him to sign on, and thank goodness, because it's a classic with these two. Both the movie that Joseph and Bob picked were both in '97. No, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but you know, we're going to talk about Joseph's pick shortly.
Go ahead.
And it was Con Air. They were released within 6 or 7 weeks of each other. Both made over $200 million at the box office. So Nicolas Cage in 5 weeks over $400 million within 2 months or whatever. Anyway,
wow.
Nicolas Cage and John Travolta spent 2 weeks together before filming to learn how to play each other. They decided on specific gestures and vocal cadences for each character that could be mimicked. The crew shot on Nicolas Cage's birthday. John Woo let Cage get emotionally charged up for the scene, then surprised him with a birthday cake. Afterwards, Nicolas Cage asked John Woo, "Don't do that shit again," because he got him. I always think of that church scene. I'm a little bothered by that church scene.
Where he's like headbanging with the choir.
Some questionable stuff going on there. Anyway, I think about the
peach for hours.
The cat and mouse aspect of the movie is what's intriguing. At the time, John Travolta was experiencing a career renaissance, as I mentioned, and Nicolas Cage was at the peak of his powers, both at the very top of the industry, and this was well cast. This is Nicolas Cage at his most Nick Cage. The Nick Cage we all know and love from clips and memes. This is the zenith of that. Is Nicolas Cage having an absolute blast or a complete meltdown? You decide, because no one fucking knows. We don't know if he's going through some shit. I think the only drawback on this is John Travolta hangs with Nicolas Cage. It's like, who is crazier, everyday Nicolas Cage or the Church of Scientology?
John Travolta.
I mean, what's crazy? I'll see you're crying in prison and raise you a Xenu. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so I think to really say it's his most standout performance, Nicolas Cage's, no other performance in this movie can match. I could support that to an extent, but it can't match. I think what happens is that John Travolta actually matches him step for step. So, which of course is why it's such an amazing film. But this is a tag team title championship, not a singles championship for Nicolas Cage. But I love Nicolas Cage's hilarious intensity. It's remarkable. This is a great movie, guys. I actually want to rewatch it.
Yeah, no shit. I want to have a beer this weekend and watch Face Off, just so we can watch craziness.
We're going to conclude with Joseph's selection. What do you got for us, Joseph?
Oh, don't do it.
So as Randy mentioned, obviously my selection was Con Air. Give credit to Face Off as well, though, because watching Face Off is what made me want to watch Con Air. they came out the same time, so it was great. This movie for me was so fucking awesome, and I want to start off by saying I know it's an absurd story and concept at times. It is believable to an extent, most likely not, but it definitely can happen. so hey. Obviously, you know the story. Army Ranger Cameron Poe, played by Nicolas Cage, gets convicted of manslaughter, unfortunately, and is in protecting his wife. At the time of his release, he must hitch a ride aboard a prison transport plane full of some very, very terrible criminals. So you know the story. And Steve Buscemi. You know the story. Chaos ensues, and the whole thing is just the character of Cameron Poe just trying to get home to his wife. This movie is epic. It is beautiful to me. I love John. I love
John Woo.
I was gonna say John Travolta. I love
me too.
I love Nicolas Cage performance as Cameron Poe. I know I know you all are gonna talk about the hair and the accent a little bit. I don't think it's too bad. You know what? Maybe the hair. He could have cut his hair in prison. I don't know what was up with that. He had the Castor Troy haircut, already. So I don't know why he went to the anyway. But his accent is not too crazy. He's from Alabama, so he's got to be.
Is he though?
He's got a little bit of a twang. There's nothing wrong with it. Aside from, I don't think as good a movie as this is, and like I said, it's a Nicolas Cage movie. I don't think it has a great supporting cast as well. I don't think they overpower him. The only one that would probably rival him is John Malkovich's performance as Cyrus the Virus. Love John Malkovich, dude. John Malkovich also makes this movie as well. I think the dialogue is very witty. I think that's thanks to the character of Cyrus the Virus, aka John Malkovich. You need somebody to fucking talk people to death in a movie. Why not get John Malkovich? It works. It's really awesome. It's this great story. Like I said, it could happen. You could, hey, you could just be in any day of life, you could just be trying to get home and just, chaos ensues and you're having to deal with it. I love that Cusack's character is also, I don't want to say lovable, but he's not an asshole. So it just kind of goes hand in hand. I love Nicolas Cage's performance as this mainly straightforward. I mean, he's supposed to be, he's an Army Ranger. So he does have this aura of seriousness, and I really liked that. It's only in the time when he's with his family or he's with his wife, and then later on at the end of the movie meeting his daughter for the first time, that you see him, like, the character sort of drop the guard, be sensitive or whatnot. But throughout the whole movie, and I don't think that's a negative for his performance. I do like his straightforward. Also, I mentioned Malkovich's tongue-in-cheek response to everything and the way he spoke to characters. But I also think Nicolas Cage as Cameron Poe did that as well. He was kind of witty as well. Gave some funny responses to different things with some like country humor. I loved it. I don't think I mentioned the cast, but I could. Cusack, Malkovich, Steve Buscemi, Ving Rhames, just awesome. Danny Trejo,
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle was in it too. Yeah,
Chappelle, I mean,
Dave Chappelle, they killed Dave Chappelle so early. What the fuck? They throw him off the plane.
MC Gainey, yeah.
Just a tremendous cast. Like I said, I know it's a little bit out there, this whole landing the plane on the Vegas Strip thing. The concept of the story of the escape was really interesting. Obviously it wasn't going to work, so it is what it is. I loved Buscemi's performance as well. I'm not going to lie. I thought that might just be Buscemi being Buscemi, but it was fucking cool. Like, he was really funny.
What is he at a craps table at the end?
Yeah, he's at the end. Lucky? Yes, I do. Isn't there there's a story, or there's an internet rumor that his character of Garland Green is his character from what's the movie?
Billy Madison?
The Big Lebowski.
Oh, the Big Lebowski.
Donnie?
There's a rumor that he's Donnie.
Huh.
Like, it's just like that he changes his name. He obviously like lives this whole new life. It's a little rumor about that. I thought that was cool. Anyway, this is my selection, guys. I hope you guys like this movie as much as I do.
I love this movie. Me first? Okay.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Jerry Bruckheimer, what do you expect? Of course, it's going to be a bunch of outrageous shit going on. He was one of the producers.
The Declaration of Independence.
So, important question, guys. Who does a better version of How Do I Live? Trisha Yearwood or Leanne Rimes? Who do you guys have?
Isn't Trisha Yearwood the original?
She's the one in the movie. Leanne Rimes was the original.
I think it's Leanne Rimes.
I think it's a tie. They both lose.
I mean, they both kind of sound the same.
I think they used Yearwood's version on the film because it was re-recorded because Leanne Rimes' version sounded too pop. So I like Yearwood's version better. She was old enough to sound like she drank and called up random dudes that look like these criminals in the movie for random sex. Anyway, and it has a sax solo. Come on, we all like sax solos. Anyway,
Sexy sex.
Con Air has this important distinction of being the most embarrassing movie I've gotten emotional to. I was watching the last clip.
Shit. Let's hear it, baby. Let's hear it.
I was watching the last clip where Nicolas Cage meets his daughter, and of course, when I watched it in 1997, didn't affect me. But
That looks like your girl.
Yeah, I was between classes. I was between classes, and I was watching this clip. And a student walked in early to the late class, and he was like, "Hey, sir, are you okay?" And I was like, "Wipey." I was like, "Yeah, just allergies." But I was watching this last scene, and I got emotional about it. It was crazy. How do I? Yeah, it gets you. It gets your heartstrings. Anyway, I love Con Air. Joseph, you mentioned the cast. What a murderer's row, no pun intended, of actors: Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, John Malkovich, Michael T. Williamson, Bubba from Forrest Gump, Dave Chappelle, Steve Buscemi, I'm sorry, Danny Trejo, MC Gainey, Ving Rhames. This was like the 1992 Royal Rumble. What a stacked main event. It was crazy. I do like this movie, but a really subdued Nicolas Cage performance as compared to some of the batshit crazy men he usually plays, and he was a criminal in this one. He receives 10 years in prison for killing one of the 3 guys who attempted to assault his wife. I want to know who the hell was Cameron Poe's lawyer? How the hell did he get, how do you get 10 years for defending himself? Anyway.
Yeah, he served the country, then they're going to assault his wife, and he fought back. What a fucking shit.
If I remember, well, okay, from the movie, we only know that he has a lawyer in front of him. I'm assuming it was a public
defendant.
Public defender, and I think if I remember correctly, he just tells him, "Hey, like if you plead guilty, you'll just get like it was a shit. Yeah, it seems more like a public defender who just basically told him, yeah, just be guilty, you'll be all right, you won't get slap on the wrist." Blah, blah, blah.
Lawyers.
So he pleaded guilty.
Surely someone could have gotten him 10 years probation instead of being in prison with Hannibal Lecter. I mean, come on. Okay, to me, Con Air is like if we 3 started to drink and we're told to start a plot of the movie that we're making up, and then we have to drink for an hour straight and add another element to the movie, drink for an hour, add another element to the movie, on and on. We'd come up with Con Air, the 3 of us, because that's how ridiculous this movie is. But I mean, in a good way. I mean that in a good way. These fuckers were on cocaine by the time someone suggested to crash land a plane on the Vegas Strip. I mean, these guys had to have been high off their asses coming up with this zaniness. But it worked. The movie made $224 million. Con Air did for inmates what Rocky did for white guys who wanted to fight. I love Nicolas Cage as Cameron Poe. I love Nicolas Cage as Cameron Poe. I didn't have a problem with the Southern accent, but this movie is getting its doors blown off by Malkovich. I mean, he's amazing. Cusack is ramping it up for no reason. It almost seems like he's doing another movie, but those guys and the criminals they're all throwing 100 miles per hour. We didn't really get Snake Eyes Nicolas Cage or Wicker Man Nicolas Cage. We got I Just Want to Go Home to My Family, slow Southern, talking like Elvis Presley Nicolas Cage. This is probably by all counts is where he looks his most attractive. I'll say that windswept hair, the stubble, the tank top. He was the most handsome guy from Alabama outside of Joe Namath. Well, Joe Namath played for Alabama. He wasn't born there. Who's from Alabama? Channing Tatum and Lionel Richie, both from Alabama. So Cameron Poe is like the 3rd most handsome guy from Alabama. Anyway,
Channing Tatum.
Go ahead, Joseph.
No, go ahead. I want to talk.
I got 3 more points. His portrayal of the main character was so understated for such a cartoonish movie, and for Cage to act like the most sane person in the cast. Yes, he's cunning. Yes, he's quippy, and he has some really funny scenes. He has some great dialogue. But that sort of dull cadence, the hillbilly demeanor, just a bit too understated for me. But he is very self-aware. He's poking fun of the action hero tropes. The stuff with the bunny, slapping the prison inmate with a dress instead of punching him. I love Con Air. I love it as an ensemble of ridiculousness that it is, more so than for Nicolas Cage. It also gave Nicolas Cage the thoughts that he could be a successful action star. So Gone in 60 Seconds, Ghost Rider, Bangkok Dangerous. We didn't need all those movies, but Con Air sort of birthed them. But the guy was jacked. He was in shape, right, Bob? What do you think?
Didn't like his hair. Look, I agree 1,000,000%. This is one of my favorite movies. This is one of my favorite Nick Cage movies. Great action movie. The ensemble was fucking amazing. You know, we talked about a little bit about Face Off. It was a lot of back and forth between Travolta and Cage and their crazy personalities and feeding off of each other and all that good stuff. This one was to me, it was a John Malkovich show for a lot of the movie. Nick Cage is very reserved and very laid back, and he only shows one side of his usually over the top persona, which he got away from. So I didn't like that part of it because, you know, I like when he does the cocaine eyes and, you know, grits his teeth and, you know, does something like crazy with his body as he yells. He goes over the top with the scene or with his dialogue. He didn't really do that in this movie, but the movie itself is amazing, man. It's a great guy. Like I said, if we're all sitting and drinking and going on a bender in Vegas, I'm sure we could come up with this movie. We would have come up with this movie or something like Speed, but they should do it on a public bus. Yeah, but you know, it's a really great movie. It's one of his best movies. I didn't get the hair plugs, like what nobody gave him a haircut in the Click. He had to fucking just let that shit grow. It was terrible hair plugs, terrible wig. I didn't like the country accent. I really didn't. He's a girl dad, you know, he's trying to get home to his daughter and his wife. I get that. That's cool. It was a cool little concept, but you know, I didn't like the accent. I think they could have left without the accent.
What did you guys think when Aaron Rodgers pulled off the Cameron Poe look a couple of off seasons ago? Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Of course, that's why he was growing out his hair. I thought that was really funny, man. Really funny. But you know, Poe wouldn't go down with an Achilles injury like a bitch.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Final questions and final points. Nicolas Cage's career can be segmented. 80s were his breakthrough. Early 90s was his, a bit of a slump. Mid 90s to early 2000s, he was a critical success. 2004 to 2012, he was doing franchise movies. 2012 to 2017, he did direct to video and his star had fallen again. 2018 to now, another career renaissance. Why do we keep welcoming him back? What makes movies empty without Nicolas Cage? Why do we need him in our theaters?
Maybe a new generation is taking notice of
him.
Appreciating, taking notice of what we saw back then. You know, he's a fucking chameleon. I think he is. Yeah. I personally, like, just to add real quick on my selection, I dug the I know it wasn't the cocaine eyes or the a little
hungry eyes
out there or whatnot character that he played in Con Air, but I liked it. I think that shows his ability because it's reminiscent of his performance in Lord of War, which I love that movie. It's more of a subtle, soft-spoken Nicolas Cage. I just think it shows other sides of him that he doesn't have to be like this crazy person. Right now, that's kind of what's in. People want to see him do some crazy, and that's we get like a character like Renfield where he plays Dracula. So he's got to be a little like crazy, but you're just seeing what we've known all along, that this guy is, I think, seriously undervalued and underappreciated. But it's good. I'm happy for him if he's happy. He seems like he's always happy no matter what. How I mentioned earlier, you all think I'm this like, oh, I only make these, you don't like my movies, or like, oh, straight to DVD. Who gives a shit? I'm going to fucking do them because this is what I love to do. This is who I am. And I love it.
I think the nostalgia factor is just like we've been saying. I know I mentioned that a shitload bit, but really the past couple of years have been all about the nostalgia factor and, resurgence of careers and like 80s style movies and, bringing these actors that were famous, in the 80s, early 90s. Now they're making a resurgence again. I think that's just what everybody's into right now. It's a thing right now, which is really good for us because like I love the fact that he's having this career resurgence. He's a great actor. He's one of our favorites, like we've mentioned. If he could have another couple of big roles in big movies, and get an Oscar, that'd be fantastic. I mean, the Oscar's cool and all, but like, if he could just have a big role in a badass movie that everybody wants to see, another blockbuster hit that's not like stealing the Declaration of Independence, I think that'd be amazing.
Although I do want to see a third one.
Yeah, I know. What's on page 47?
Yeah, you can't fucking end part 2 the way they did. I like what you said, Bob. Yeah, the nostalgia. I need more Elizabeth Shue in my life, so let's bring it back. Let's bring back the nostalgia.
Nicolas Cage had an avenue into the industry, of course. Very famously, his uncle is Francis Ford Coppola, and I remember I read a story somewhere where Nicolas Cage auditioned for him, And he said, "You're too fucking wild. Like, no, I'm not going to put you in any of my movies. You have to go and strike out on your own, kid." When he was on the set of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I think he only had a few lines. He played one of Brad's buds. And he said people kept on asking him about his uncle. Because, of course, Francis Ford Coppola was one of the biggest directors of all time, and especially during that time. And that's when he decided to change his name to Nicolas Cage and sort of carve his own path. I liked Renfield. I liked Massive Talent with Pedro Pascal. I think he's freaking amazing.
Hilarious.
I want to watch Dream Scenario. I don't think Nicolas Cage should have ever faded away. I think he made questionable film choices and production companies no longer saw him as a bankable star. But I think he's so striking and charismatic on film that you can't help but to notice him. If you give him, like, he was in Kick-Ass. He played an awesome role in Kick-Ass.
Exactly. That's another. That's what I was mentioning earlier. He's not the main character in some of his movies credits, but he's a fucking awesome character, and Kick-Ass is one of those. I thought he was awesome as Noir Batman in the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I thought he was cool. Like, it's a small role, but he's fucking badass. Like, it was cool.
And for those listening, and if you haven't watched Raising Arizona or Con Air or Face Off, go watch those movies. Go watch Leaving Las Vegas or Moonstruck or Wild at Heart. Skip Snake Eyes, though. You can.
Yeah, we can skip Snake Eyes.
Yeah. But, I mean, those other movies, he's acting his ass off, and he controls the screen. You can't help but to notice him. And he's just been an amazing actor. And I think growing up watching him is why we're such big fans of Nicolas Cage. And lastly, guys, what do you think his legacy will be?
Not being Superman. What the fuck? How could they not make him Superman? Jesus Christ. Sorry. I just had to throw that out there.
His legacy would be that he was underrated. I think. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, that's just the way it's going to be.
I think he'll be go ahead.
I'm sorry. We'll see. Hopefully this movie is what they say it is, and just gives him some recognition that we feel he deserves. I don't know what he'll do if it is what it is and he wins the awards. It's supposedly, they say that this movie and this performance is getting him the buzz. Who knows what that'll bring him after that? But I honestly think he'll still be him, regardless if he were to win an Oscar like in the next year or so. I think he's still going to be Cage no matter what people throw at him. So I changed that. I think his legacy will be that he was him. He was him. He did everything on his terms, and that's cool. That's fucking cool.
I just got two things to say about his legacy. I think he'll be far more appreciated as we get older, as he gets older. If you're a young up and coming actor, go study young Nicolas Cage roles. Go for it. Go study. I think that's a great person to learn from. Everybody thinks, well, Nicolas Cage over the top, screaming, shouting. He's a very good, accomplished actor, and I think anybody should study him. So very happy that you brought this up, Joseph, and so happy that us three got to talk about Nicolas Cage, because I think we should do more actor episodes. This was really fun.
Yeah, Travolta should be next.
That's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what your favorite Nicolas Cage movie is. More importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on any podcast platform you're listening to us on. And join us next episode. We'll be back next week with Best 80s Pop Songs. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see y'all next week.
Sorry, Rand. There's only two men I trust. One of them's me. The other's not you.